The saying goes that failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, but this time more intelligently. And that's never been more true than with Halo as a franchise right now. And honestly, it's a common theme in gaming. We've seen the rocky game launches or franchises that just can't seem to get it together, but we've also seen games rise from the ashes with huge comebacks and celebrated redemption arcs. And regardless of what your opinion is of Halo right now, it's undeniable that the franchise has not entered the modern landscape in a successful way. And it's safe to say that Xbox and 343 Industries know that, which is why they won't be called 343 Industries anymore, and they will now be called Halo Studios. And the bigger announcement was that the game is switching to Unreal Engine 5. So many are hoping that the failure of Halo leads to a brighter future with a new engine and hopefully a new vision. But the real question is, will this be enough? Switching engines is great, but a lot of former 343 employees pointed to Microsoft's 18-month contract policy as a huge reason for the studio's troubles. Constantly losing team members and shared knowledge is awful for the creative process. And beyond just the logistics of the studio, what about the gameplay of Halo? Is the switch to the Unreal Engine a sign that they will finally leave behind the feel of classic Halo? Or will they just appease longtime fans with just another Halo that only really changes the background tools and the engine itself? Ultimately, I want to ask the question, what is needed to save Halo from where it is right now? With other lingering questions as well, like will it be live service and ongoing? Will it ever come to PlayStation, given some of the recent rumors? Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out. Now, every weekday here on Reforge Gaming, I tell you what I think about a gaming topic, and then we go to a live stream where I want to hear what you think. So if you like this kind of content, hit like and subscribe. The soft reboot, the retcon, the new timeline, the multiverse. We're all familiar with games, comic books, and movies utilizing these sorts of cheat codes to start over. Many consider Halo Infinite to be a spiritual or sort of a soft reboot of the story of Master Chief. Some would push back and say the reboot was so soft that it didn't really land like one, and a lot of fans also thought that some level of reset was needed after Halo 5 in the direction of that story. From where I sit, it's time to do what I call a real reboot, one that is clearly a reset button. Especially given the engine change, I think that it would go together very well. And there are two games that did what I consider to be a real reboot. One rebooted the game more from a gameplay and design perspective while allowing the story to continue. The other rebooted the story while evolving the base gameplay to more modern standards. Now, both of these are real reboots because they created enough distance between the old games and the new games so they felt faithful while elevating the franchises to new heights. And the first game is God of War 2018. The story was not rebooted as they continued to build upon Kratos and what had happened in the previous games, but the gameplay and the direction was a huge evolution from the previous titles. And it's clear when you look at the God of War 1 gameplay and then you look at God of War 2018, elements of the combat and the visceral themes have remained intact, but at their core, they are completely different games with completely different interpretations of game mechanics. Now, the second game is Doom 2016 and even Doom Eternal. The story was officially rebooted with Doom 2016, and the gameplay has severely evolved from where it started. Doom 1 and Doom 2 gameplay was certainly intense, but tech limitations at the time kept elements of the game and the movement somewhat contained. Doom 2016 seemed to take the approach of examining every aspect of the game and asking just how far up that volume knob could be turned. Weapons were given more punch and variety. Movement was given more verticality and snappy movement and moment-to-moment volition. Executions with glory kills or chainsaw kills created rhythmic resource replenishment so you could keep the momentum and the aggression going. They took the core principles of gameplay and they elevated all of them. So it was still Doom, but it was Doom for the modern age. And Doom the Dark Ages looks to have once again combed over every aspect of the combat and player movement and asked the question, what if we went a little louder and a little crazier? Now, both of these approaches would, I think, work with Halo. The God of War approach would be to build on the existing story and the lore and the canon, but reinvent the gameplay. This would be more disruptive to the existing fan base, but at some level, that has to happen. The Doom 2016 approach would be to reboot the story, but keep the gameplay closer to the core elements of what makes Halo, Halo. But you would look at every weapon, every element of movement, the enemies, all of it, and you would ask the question, how much can we change and still retain identity? Like in Doom 2016, you still get a chainsaw, but it's so much more than that. You still have a shotgun and a rocket launcher, but they've been elevated above their original station in a way that makes the player feel stronger and more capable. The best way I can say it is this: make the new Halo honor the past, just don't be beholden to it. And many will push back and say, well, they've already tried this with Halo 5, and they sort of tried it with Halo Infinite. And to that, I have a very simple response. One of the best moments in one of the greatest TV shows ever made was when Walter White told Jesse Pinkman, "No more half measures." It was a clear sign that the narrative was about to turn and that Walt's character was going to do whatever was necessary to succeed. And that's exactly what I say about Halo 5 and Halo Infinite. It's time to say no more half measures, because my personal opinion is that both Halo 5 and Halo Infinite are still just more Halo. Sure, Halo Infinite's more faithful to the classic feel, but at the end of the day, it's just more Halo. And whenever this subject comes up, the hardcore Halo fans, they will show up and they will tell you all of the things that make Halo great and that you have to return to that, or you cannot abandon that. Or they'll say that Halo 5 failed because they already tried this. They already tried to make a Halo that wasn't Halo. But the fact of the matter is, the hardcore fans are wrong. If they had it their way, they would drag this game to the bottom of the ocean of irrelevancy, gladly squeezing it to death so they could get just one more Halo. The simple answer is this: evolve or die. Make a new Halo for the hardcore Halo fans, and it'll be the biggest waste of investments and capital and talent. It's safe to assume that the switch to UE5 will bring in the likes of the Coalition and even Epic Games for assistance. Don't waste everybody's time and all that energy switching the engine just to make a Halo for all the stuck-in-the-past hardcore fans. There aren't even enough of them to warrant doing that, and they ultimately don't matter in the equation of evolving and growing the franchise. The Master Chief Collection exists for a reason. Go play that if you want classic Halo. The franchise needs to evolve, and it becomes painfully obvious when you really think about the birthplace of Halo. It landed at a time when I had already been playing Unreal Tournament on my PC with a much faster gameplay loop. Halo always felt slow and geriatric in comparison, and there's good reason for that. It had to be playable on a controller. I honestly think this is why Doom was more able to evolve into the modern landscape so seamlessly. It was born in an environment that was just naturally faster on PC with a mouse and keyboard. Halo's origin story is vastly different. It was built for console and controllers, and they're just slower at generally everything. Nowadays, controllers and even players have certainly gotten better at quick twitch movement and shooting on a controller, and that's part of the problem. Halo's backstory makes it hard to stay faithful without feeling dated, and that's why I point to God of War 2018 and Doom 2016. They honored their past without staying there. And obviously, when you think about Halo's past, you have to consider PvP and the question of live service. When it comes to the potential of the ongoing nature of Halo, there are two games that they could take a lot of inspiration from: Helldivers 2 and Destiny. And honestly, the original plans for Halo Infinite sounded pretty close to a Destiny-style delivery with an open world that would get new content as time went on. But I honestly think that the content loops of both Helldivers 2 and Destiny could be very informative of what Halo could be. Co-op PvE in Halo is part of its history. Just apply the real reboot philosophy that I already talked about. Take it up further and evolve it. Rather than just 2-player through the whole campaign, you could add more 4-player content inspired by raids or the horde modes of other games. Halo has the lore and the enemies for all kinds of PvE cooperative content. But when it comes to PvP, I think they have a harder challenge ahead. The history of Halo PvP and esports is certainly something that you don't want to completely abandon, which is why I think a lot of the hardcore fans focus on that when you start talking about changing or evolving the game. Part of me wonders if the game would benefit from being split apart. Launch a more classic approach to Halo PvP completely separately and build it for competitive esports. Or you could use whatever Certain Affinity built, had some kind of a battle royale, and you could launch that separately as well. I still think within the PvP live service funnel, new games are going to face a huge uphill battle. There are only so many players in the pie, and it's already sliced up and divided amongst the biggest games like Warzone and Fortnite. And maybe the third-person mode coming to Halo Infinite is an attempt to test the waters and the reception of a very different feeling Halo. In a recent interview with the studio head over at Halo made it very clear they switched to UE5 in large part due to how slow the Slipspace engine was at adding or updating content. He said that, quote, "We believe that the consumption habits of gamers have changed, the expectations of how fast their content is available." And with the switch to UE5, now they want to focus on making games, not tools and engines, which I think leads to another question rising to the surface. With the UE5 engine switch, the dev name change, and the likely desire to reinvigorate and grow the fan base, will the future Halo find itself on the PS5? If you would have told me a few years ago that Halo would one day be rumored to be potentially landing on PlayStation, I would not have believed you. But this year has been one of rapid evolution and change for the Xbox brand. And Tom Warren from The Verge seemed to make it very clear when he reported about Xbox considering Halo back in June. They were considering bringing it to PlayStation. He pointed to the recent switch to UE5 as being related. In the wake of the Halo Unreal 5 announcement, he referenced his coverage, almost like a wink and a nod, as if these two things are related. That coverage also indicated that the remaster of Combat Evolved was coming. More than that, according to thegamer.com, an update is coming to the Master Chief Collection on November 11th of this year. In an article about it, they noticed the Halo announcement video contained something, and they said the following. Hidden within the announcement video was the date 11/11/2024. That just so happens to be the 10th anniversary date for Halo the Master Chief Collection. Now, some have speculated this could be an update for Halo 3, as that one feels the most dated to this day, while others think that this could be the first shot across the bow, and they'll announce the Master Chief Collection for the PS5. Now, if that were to happen, it would be hard to argue that Xbox will ever have any true exclusives ever again, and for many, it would be the true mark of the end of their own Xbox loyalty. But ultimately, it's a very likely outcome of the new path and the new era for Halo. If failure really is the opportunity to try again with more intelligence, Halo and the team at 343 have a mountain of data and information to build upon. They know what didn't work and what caused so many problems. My hope would be that the investment from Xbox into the brand, the engine switch, and the studio expansion would mean that they are open to changing the contract policy that harmed 343 and Halo Infinite. If not, I worry a lot of this effort will be hobbled from the very start, or at the very least, just do more actual hiring of full-time staff. According to the Jason Schreier autopsy on Halo Infinite, roughly half of the 343 staff was on a contract, and that meant half of the staff was leaving every 18 months. Now, they wouldn't have all been leaving at the same time, obviously, but it would mean there's a constant flow of knowledge loss and loss of team synergy. So Microsoft, if they don't budge on the policy, at least they could do is equip Halo Studios to flourish with more full-time employees, because failure leading to success can only happen with real change and real effort. Without that, it would likely be just another Halo and also just another failure. But those are just my thoughts, and now it's time to hear your thoughts. And you can do that in a comment below, or come to the live stream that follows this. It'll hit a card right here, and it'll be linked in a pinned comment below, and sometimes your comments get featured in the live stream. So if you like this content and you want more like it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.